The sun hung low over the mining colony on Eryth 7, casting long shadows across the ancient excavation site. Captain Jake Morrison walked beside the colony administrator, listening to explanations about the dig that had uncovered ruins older than any known civilization. Jake was here on a diplomatic mission, representing Earth in talks with the native Eryth people about shared research opportunities. The Eryth were a peaceful species, tall and slender with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. They had welcomed the human delegation warmly, eager to show them the archaeological wonders buried beneath their world. Jake found himself genuinely interested, despite his military background making him more comfortable with starship engines than ancient history. A group of Eryth children played near the edge of the excavation zone, their laughter carrying across the dusty ground. Their parents watched from a distance, relaxed and trusting. The colony felt safe, almost sleepy in the afternoon heat. Jake smiled, thinking how different this was from the tense border patrols he usually ran. The administrator led them toward a cordoned-off section of the dig. Strange symbols covered the exposed stone walls, glowing faintly in the fading light. Jake noticed warning markers posted every few meters, written in both human and Eryth languages. The administrator explained that this area was forbidden, a sacred site the Eryth elders refused to discuss. Even the archaeologists were not allowed close. A sharp crack split the air. Jake's head snapped toward the sound. One of the Eryth children, a small girl with bright, curious eyes, had ducked under the safety barriers. She stood at the edge of a massive pit, peering down into darkness. The ground beneath her feet crumbled. Everything slowed. The child's arms windmilled as the stone gave way. Her scream pierced the air. The adults froze in shock, too far away to help. Jake's body moved before his mind caught up. His legs pumped hard, closing the distance in seconds. He dove forward as the girl disappeared over the edge. His hand caught empty air. Without thinking, Jake launched himself into the pit after her. Wind roared past his ears as darkness swallowed him. He twisted in mid-air, scanning desperately for the child. There, a small form tumbling below him. Jake angled his body, falling faster, arms outstretched. His fingers closed around small wrists. He pulled the girl against his chest, wrapping his arms around her protectively. She clung to him, trembling. Jake's mind raced, calculating the fall, knowing the impact would kill them both. He had acted on instinct, and now they would both die. Light exploded around them. The pit walls blazed with the same symbols from above, but 1,000 times brighter. They covered every surface, pulsing with energy that turned night into day. Jake felt heat wash over him, not burning but intense, alive. The symbols seemed to reach toward them, tendrils of light stretching across the empty space. They hit bottom. Jake twisted at the last second, taking the impact on his back and shoulder. Pain shot through his body, but it was survivable. Somehow, impossibly, they had fallen hundreds of feet and lived. He gasped for air, still holding the child tight. The girl stirred in his arms, whimpering but alive. Jake tried to sit up, checking her for injuries. She seemed unharmed, just terrified. Relief flooded through him. He had saved her. They had survived. Then the pain started. Fire erupted across Jake's chest, searing and absolute. He screamed, the sound echoing off ancient stone. The symbols on the walls burned brighter, their light focusing on him like a spotlight. Energy poured into his body, carving something into his flesh. He could smell burning, could feel his skin splitting and reforming. The child pulled away, her large eyes wide with fear and something else. Wonder, maybe, or recognition. She reached toward his chest but did not touch. Jake looked down and saw light bleeding through his torn shirt. A mark, intricate and beautiful, glowed on his skin. It looked like a dragon, wings spread, mouth open in eternal flame. The pain peaked, became everything, then vanished. Darkness rushed in from the edges of Jake's vision. The last thing he saw was the child's face, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her lips forming words he could not hear. Then nothing. Above, voices shouted. Rescue teams scrambled. But at the bottom of the forbidden pit, Captain Jake Morrison lay unconscious, marked by something ancient and powerful. His life changed forever by a single moment of courage. Jake opened his eyes to white ceiling panels and the steady beep of medical equipment. His head felt heavy, his thoughts slow and confused. He tried to sit up, but his body refused to cooperate. Every muscle ached like he had been hit by a transport shuttle. A woman in a white coat appeared beside his bed. She had kind eyes and dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. "Easy, Captain Morrison. You have been unconscious for 3 days. Your body needs time to recover." 3 days. Jake blinked, trying to process that information. He remembered the pit, the fall, the child. "The girl," he croaked, his throat dry. "Is she okay?" The doctor smiled. "Kira is fine. Not a scratch on her, thanks to you. She has been sitting outside your room almost constantly, waiting for you to wake up." She pressed a button, raising the bed so Jake could sit upright. "I am Dr. Lisa Grant. You are in the Colony Medical Facility." Jake nodded, relief washing over him. The girl was safe. That was what mattered. Then he noticed the strange sensation on his chest, a warmth that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. He looked down and saw his shirt had been cut away. His breath caught. A mark covered the left side of his chest, spreading from his collarbone to his ribs. It looked like it had been burned into his skin, but the lines were too perfect, too deliberate. The image was a dragon, detailed and beautiful, with wings that seemed to move in the light. As Jake stared, the mark pulsed with a faint glow, like embers in a dying fire. "What is this?" Jake touched the mark carefully. The skin felt normal, not burned or damaged, but the warmth intensified under his fingers. Dr. Grant's expression turned serious. "We do not know exactly. It appeared during your fall. The Eryth elders have been very interested in speaking with you. They say it is important." She hesitated. "Captain, they seem frightened. I have never seen them like this." Before Jake could respond, the door slid open. A small figure rushed in, moving past Dr. Grant with surprising speed. It was the child from the pit, Kira. She stopped at the edge of his bed, her large eyes fixed on his face. She looked healthy and unharmed, wearing clean clothes and a necklace of colored stones. "You saved me," she said softly in accented but clear English. "You jumped into the darkness for me." Jake managed a weak smile. "I could not let you fall alone." Kira's eyes filled with tears. She reached out slowly, her small hand hovering over the dragon mark. "The old ones said this would never happen again. They said the dragon bonded were gone forever." She looked up at him with something like awe. "But you have the mark. You are chosen." The door opened again, and 3 Eryth elders entered. They were taller than most of their species, their skin marked with age patterns that showed their status. They moved with careful dignity, but Jake could see the tension in their movements. Dr. Grant stepped back, giving them space. The eldest spoke, his voice deep and measured. "Captain Morrison, you have done something no one has achieved in 10,000 years. You survived the trial pit and received the dragon mark." He gestured to the symbol on Jake's chest. "That place was sealed by our ancestors, forbidden because it killed all who entered. It was a testing ground for warriors who bonded with ancient power." Jake felt cold despite the warmth from the mark. "What kind of power?" The second elder stepped forward. "Long ago, our people had protectors called dragon bonded. They could channel fire and strength beyond normal limits. They defended our world from great threats. But the power was dangerous, difficult to control. Many who received the mark went mad or burned themselves from within. Our ancestors abandoned the practice and sealed the trial sites. No one has survived the marking in recorded history," the third elder added quietly. "Until you." Kira moved closer to Jake's bed. "The legends say humans were part of the old alliance, that your people were dragonkin too, before you were lost to the stars." Jake looked at the mark on his chest, watching it pulse with inner light. He felt different, changed in ways he could not yet understand. There was something inside him now, waiting, energy that had not been there before. "What happens now?" he asked. The eldest elder's expression was grave. Now, Captain Morrison, you must learn to control what you have become, or the power will consume you. The first sign came during breakfast 2 days later. Jake sat in the colony cafeteria, trying to eat despite the stares from other personnel. Word had spread about the mark, and everyone wanted to see the human who had survived the impossible. He kept his shirt buttoned high, hiding the dragon symbol, but he could still feel it pulsing against his skin. His fork clattered to the table. Jake's hand had moved without his command, knocking the utensil away a split second before a ceiling panel crashed down exactly where it would have hit him. People around him gasped. Jake stared at his hand, heart pounding. He had known the panel would fall before it happened. He had felt the danger like a whisper in his mind. Dr. Grant appeared at his side within minutes. "That is the third incident today," she said quietly. "You dodged a falling supply crate this morning, and you caught a glass before it hit the floor yesterday. Your reflexes are not normal anymore, Captain." Jake flexed his fingers, watching them move. Everything felt sharper, faster. His senses had expanded somehow. He could hear conversations across the room, smell the recycled air filters that needed changing, see details he would have missed before. "It is getting stronger," he admitted. Kira found him in the observation deck that afternoon. She had barely left his side since he woke up, following him like a small shadow. The Eryth elders had explained she felt bonded to him now, connected by the shared experience in the pit. Jake did not mind. The girl was brave and curious, asking endless questions about Earth and human culture. "Can you feel it?" she asked, settling beside him on the bench. "The fire inside?" Jake nodded slowly. "Yes, it is like something is waiting, coiled up and ready. I do not know how to control it." "The old stories say the dragon bonded could protect their people," Kira said. "They made shields of flame and fought with the strength of 10 warriors. But they had to learn slowly, carefully. Too much power too fast would burn them up." An alarm shrieked through the colony. Jake jumped to his feet, his body already moving toward the door. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. People ran past, shouting about an attack. Jake grabbed a passing security officer. "What is happening?" "Pirates," the man gasped. 3 ships just dropped out of nowhere. They are demanding we surrender all valuable cargo and research data. Jake's blood ran cold. The colony had minimal defenses, just enough to discourage small threats. 3 pirate ships could overwhelm them easily. He ran toward the command center, Kira keeping pace beside him despite her smaller legs. The command center was chaos. Colony Administrator Wells stood at the main console, his face pale. "They are firing warning shots. If we do not comply in 10 minutes, they will start hitting populated areas." Jake pushed forward. "Let me go out there. I can buy you time to get people to shelters." Wells stared at him. "You are a diplomat, Captain, not a soldier. What can you possibly do against armed ships?" Before Jake could answer, an explosion rocked the building. The pirates had stopped warning. A second blast hit closer, shaking the floor. Through the windows, Jake saw fire blooming in the residential district. People were dying out there. Heat erupted in his chest. The dragon mark blazed to life, glowing so bright it showed through his shirt. Energy flooded Jake's body, hot and wild and demanding release. He gasped, doubling over as power surged through his veins. It felt like lightning and fire combined, searching for an outlet. "Jake!" Kira grabbed his arm. "You have to let it out. The power wants to protect. That is what it was made for." Another explosion, closer now. Jake straightened, his vision tinged with gold. He could see the pirate ships through the walls somehow, sensed their weapons charging for another volley. The fire inside him roared, demanding action. He ran outside. The colony grounds were in chaos, people fleeing in all directions. A pirate fighter swooped low, its weapons glowing as it targeted the medical facility. Jake's hands moved on instinct, reaching toward the ship. Heat poured from his palms, golden light streaming into the air. A barrier materialized, translucent and shimmering like a wall of flame. The pirate's weapons fire hit the shield and disintegrated, turned to ash before it could reach the building. Jake felt the impact through his whole body but held firm. The barrier expanded, growing larger, covering more of the colony. The pirate ship banked hard, trying to circle around. Jake turned with it, his hands still raised. More fire poured from him, not wild or uncontrolled but focused, deliberate. The barrier shifted, moving to intercept. When the pirates fired again, the shield absorbed the blast and sent it back, a wave of golden energy that struck the ship's engines. The fighter spiraled away, smoke trailing from damaged thrusters. The other two pirate ships hesitated, clearly surprised. Jake stood in the center of the colony grounds, his whole body glowing with the dragon mark's power. He felt strong, invincible, like he could protect everyone here forever. Then the pain started. The fire inside him burned hotter, too hot. His skin felt like it was splitting. Jake fell to his knees, gasping. He had used too much too fast. The power was consuming him from within, just like the elders had warned. Kira appeared beside him, her small hands on his shoulders. "Stop," she said firmly. "Let it go. You saved them. That is enough." Jake released the barrier. The golden light faded, flowing back into the mark on his chest. The pirate ships retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speeds and disappearing. The colony was safe, but Jake collapsed onto the ground, his body shaking with exhaustion. Dr. Grant and her medical team rushed over. As they lifted him onto a stretcher, Jake saw the faces of the colonists he had saved. They looked at him with fear and gratitude mixed together. He had protected them, but he had also shown them something terrifying. The dragon mark pulsed weakly on his chest, its glow fading to embers. Jake closed his eyes, wondering what he had become and whether he could control this power before it destroyed him. Jake woke slowly, as if rising through layers of thick fog. His body felt like molten metal cooling after being hammered too many times. Every breath made his ribs ache. But he was alive. He opened his eyes. Dim medical lights glowed overhead. The familiar smell of disinfectant filled the air. A soft hum of equipment echoed somewhere nearby. He recognized the colony medbay immediately, and recognized the tension in the room even faster. Dr. Grant stood near the foot of his bed, arms crossed, face tight with worry and something else. Fear. Beside her, Administrator Wells, 3 Eryth elders, and 2 human security officers waited silently. Their expressions were unreadable, but their bodies were stiff, cautious, like they were standing near a bomb that could go off again at any moment. Kira was the only one who moved. She sat in a chair next to him, legs dangling, eyes red from crying but filled with stubborn determination. When Jake shifted, she leaned forward instantly. "You woke up," she whispered with relief. "I told them you would." Jake swallowed, his throat dry. "How long was I out this time?" 6 hours, Dr. Grant answered. "In that time, your vital signs spiked 3 times. We had to sedate you twice. Your body keeps trying to ignite." Jake tensed. He remembered the power, the barrier, the fire tearing through him. "The colony, did people?" "You saved hundreds," Wells said. "If you hadn't acted, we would be counting bodies." "But..." He hesitated, choosing his words. "But what you did has consequences." The eldest Eryth stepped forward. "The power inside you is awakened now. It will not remain silent. The dragon mark tests its bearer and punishes recklessness." Jake looked down. The mark glowed faintly beneath his bandages, a dull ember pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The second elder continued, his voice heavy with memory. "Our ancestors wrote that the mark's fire grows after its first use, that it will demand mastery or consume its vessel." Jake clenched his fists. "Then teach me. Help me learn." Silence filled the room. The third elder exhaled slowly. "We do not know how. The dragon-bonded vanished long before our time. Their rituals, their training, all lost to the ages." Dr. Grant stepped closer, placing a datapad on the table. "This isn't just energy, Jake. I've run scans. Your neural pathways are changing. Your reflexes are beyond human averages. Your muscles show micro-adaptations that should take years, not days." Her voice trembled. "You're evolving." and we don't know what the endpoint is. Kira stood and faced the room defiantly. He saved me. He saved all of you. You should be helping him, not treating him like a danger. Wells pinched the bridge of his nose. Kira, no one said he's dangerous. He's scared, she snapped. And you're scared. But that's not his fault. Jake touched her arm gently. It's okay. Then he looked at the elders. If you don't know how to help me, then what now? The eldest Eryth bowed his head. There is one place that may hold answers. An ancient site far older than even the trial pit. A sanctum where the first dragon-bonded trained. But it is buried deep beneath the mountains. No one has set foot inside for thousands of years. The second elder added, the path is perilous. The sanctum's defenses are active. And the last recorded attempt to enter ended in death. Jake pushed himself to sit upright, ignoring the pain burning through his ribs. If there's even a chance it can teach me to control this, I have to go. Dr. Grant shook her head sharply. You're barely stable. You push yourself again, and you could literally burn from the inside. Jake smiled weakly. I already almost did. Jake! He cut her off gently. If I don't learn control, it will happen again. And next time I might not stop it. The room fell silent. Finally, the eldest elder placed his hand over his heart. Then we will prepare the path. At dawn, we begin the journey to the Sanctum of Embers. Kira brightened instantly. I'm going too. Jake stiffened. Kira, no. It's too dangerous. She met his eyes, unblinking. You need me. You felt the fire because of me. We're connected. She touched her own chest. The bond works both ways. And Jake realized, with a jolt, that she was right. When she touched him, the power steadied. When she spoke, the fire listened. When she urged him to stop, the burn had faded. Kira wasn't just bonded emotionally. She was part of the dragon mark now. The eldest elder bowed his head. The child speaks truth. The bond between you is rare and powerful. If you go, she must go. Jake exhaled slowly. Then we go together. The power inside him pulsed once, like approval. At dawn, they would begin their journey. Toward answers. Toward danger. Toward the truth of what it meant to be dragon-bonded. Dawn on Eryth 7 painted the mountains in pale silver and gold as Jake, Kira, Dr. Grant, and a small escort of Eryth guardians set out across the rugged terrain. The morning air was thin and cold, carrying the faint scent of mineral dust and distant storms. Jake walked at the front, feeling the dragon mark shift faintly beneath his shirt, as though it sensed the journey ahead. Kira walked beside him, quick and quiet. Despite her small size, she seemed tireless, her steps steady as a heartbeat. Every so often, she glanced up at Jake as if to make sure he was still there. You're worried, she said softly. Jake forced a small smile. A little, aren't you? No, she said without hesitation. The sanctum called you. I could feel it last night. Jake frowned. Called me? Kira nodded, tapping lightly over her own heart. Through the bond. It wants you to come. It wants to teach you. Jake wasn't sure if that reassured him or terrified him. Behind them, Dr. Grant trudged along, hands buried in coat pockets, her expression tense. She caught up to Jake. I still think this is reckless. Your vitals are unstable. That mark reacts to your emotions, your environment, sometimes even your thoughts. And if I stay in the colony, Jake said, something will set me off again. Last time it was pirates. Next time it could be a falling tray. Dr. Grant sighed. I know. I just don't want to lose you out here. Ahead, the path narrowed as cliffs rose on both sides. The Eryth elders had described this place as a mountain throat, a natural passage leading into the oldest region of their world. The stone walls bore faint carvings. Dragons, spirals of fire, warriors with glowing marks like Jake's. As they walked deeper, the air thickened with warmth. Jake felt the heat first. It curled around him like an unseen current, tugging at the mark on his chest. The closer they drew to the sanctum, the brighter the mark began to glow beneath his shirt. What had once been a faint ember now throbbed with rising power. Kira touched his arm. It's waking. I can feel that, Jake muttered, swallowing hard. The Eryth guardians stopped as the canyon ended abruptly. Before them stood a colossal stone archway carved into the mountain, its surface covered in ancient symbols that shimmered like molten gold. Heat radiated from it in waves. The ground vibrated faintly beneath their feet. The eldest guardian stepped forward. This is as far as we go. Beyond the arch, the sanctum recognizes only the marked and the bonded child. Another guardian bowed. May the fire guide you, Captain Morrison. Jake took a breath. Then another. He stepped toward the archway. The air shimmered with heat as he crossed the threshold. A deep hum filled his head. The world changed. Inside the sanctum, the mountain opened into a vast, circular chamber lit by molten rivers of light that flowed through cracks in the stone walls like living fire. Every surface glowed with symbols. Dragons twisting in endless loops, fire spirals, runes shaped like wings and claws. The place thrummed with ancient power, so old it made Jake's skin prickle. His mark burned like a brand. Kira gasped in awe. This is the first flame. Jake swallowed. Feels like the core of a star. Dr. Grant stayed at the edge of the chamber, scanning the walls with her datapad. This place, it's alive. These readings shouldn't be possible. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Jake's breath caught as the fire rivers brightened. Lines of molten gold spiraled across the floor, forming the shape of a massive dragon. Its head rose first, sculpted from pure flame, followed by its wings, vast structures of fire and light. The creature towered over them, its eyes like twin suns. Dr. Grant stumbled back, dropping her datapad. That's impossible. Kira stepped forward, unafraid. It's a memory, she whispered. A guardian made of old power. The fire dragon lowered its head toward Jake, its burning eyes locking onto the mark on his chest. When it spoke, its voice was everywhere, echoing through stone, fire, and bone. Bearer of the last mark, it intoned. Why have you come? Jake's throat tightened. I need to learn control. I need to protect the people depending on me, without hurting them. The fire dragon studied him. The flame within you is not a gift. It is a burden. Many before you failed. Why do you believe you can succeed? Jake clenched his fists. Because I have no other choice. The chamber heated until Jake felt his skin prickle. The dragon's gaze burned through him. And the child. Kira stepped forward bravely, chin lifted. I am his bondholder. I help him stay balanced. He needs me. The dragon's fiery gaze softened. A bond of heart and courage. Rare and powerful. The dragon rose higher, wings spreading wide, filling the chamber with scorching light. Very well. The trial of flames begins now. Each step will test your will, your strength, your fear. If the fire judges you unworthy, it will consume you both. Dr. Grant shouted from the edge. Jake! Stop! This is suicide. Jake looked back at her. For a moment, he saw fear in her eyes. Not fear of him, but fear for him. He gave her a small, steady smile. I have to do this. She bit her lip hard. Then, come back alive. Jake turned to the dragon. Tell me what I have to do. The fire dragon lowered its head until its blazing snout hovered inches from Jake's chest. Step into the flame. The rivers of molten light parted, revealing a glowing path leading deeper into the sanctum. Jake took Kira's hand. Together they stepped forward. The fire roared to life around them, and the trial began. The instant Jake and Kira stepped onto the glowing path, the chamber roared to life. Fire leapt from the molten rivers on either side, curling upward like serpents made of light. The heat hit Jake like a physical force, forcing a gasp from his lungs. But the fire didn't burn. Instead, it flowed around him, tasting him, testing him. The mark on his chest answered with a pulse of golden light, steady and strong. Kira squeezed his hand. It sees you. Jake swallowed. I know. Ahead, the path wound deeper into the mountain. The first trial waited in the heart of a towering chamber filled with swirling flame tornadoes. They spun like living creatures, each one threaded with glowing runes. Their movement hummed with the rhythm of ancient power. A booming voice echoed through the chamber, the fire dragon's voice. First trial, the trial of fear. Kira's hand trembled in his. Jake felt the bond stretch between them, vibrant and fragile. Suddenly, illusions emerged within the flames, shifting shapes of shadow and memory. Jake saw a starship corridor, smoke filling the air. He saw his squadmates pinned down by enemy fire. He saw himself failing to reach them in time. His heart clenched. "No," Jake whispered. "Not this." Kira turned quickly. "Jake, don't look at them. They're trying to weaken the bond." The illusions intensified. He saw the colony scorched to ash, people running, dying, because he couldn't control the fire inside him. He saw Kira falling again into that endless pit, slipping from his grasp. His chest tightened painfully, the mark flaring hot enough to sting. Kira stepped in front of him, small but fierce. "Jake, they're lies. You're not alone this time." He forced himself to look away from the illusions, to look at her. Her eyes were steady, determined. Through the bond, Jake felt something flow into him. Her certainty, her belief in him, pure and unwavering. The fire around them wavered. Jake inhaled slowly. "I am not afraid," he said, voice rough. "Not while she's with me." The illusions shattered like glass. The tornadoes of fire stilled, glowing softly in approval. The fire dragon's voice boomed again. "You face your fear with courage. The bond holds strong. Proceed." The path opened ahead, leading downward. The second trial. The second chamber was colder. The flames dimmed to embers. The air hummed with tension, like a bowstring pulled to breaking. Jake shivered. "Why is it cold?" Kira whispered. Jake didn't know, but the dragon's voice answered. Second trial. The trial of control. A sphere of flame rose from the floor, hovering at chest height. It spun violently, throwing sparks that hit Jake's skin like sharp pinpricks. His mark flared in response. Kira stepped back instinctively. "Jake, be careful." The sphere shot toward him. Jake reacted on pure instinct, throwing up his hand. A burst of golden fire exploded from his palm, forming a barrier that deflected the sphere. But instead of dissipating, it split into 3 new flaming orbs, circling them like predators. Dr. Grant's warning echoed in his head. Your power reacts to your fear, your anger, even your heartbeat. Jake steadied his breathing, but one of the flaming orbs darted toward Kira. "No!" He lunged, shoving her aside, and fired another gout of golden flame. The blast hit the orb with enough force to shatter it. But the sudden surge of power ripped through Jake's chest like a knife. "Jake!" Kira shouted. He dropped to one knee, gasping as the fire inside him threatened to break loose. Wild, hungry. The chamber trembled, stone crackling under the force. Kira grabbed his face between her hands. "Stop! You're trying to protect me. But I'm not afraid. I'm with you, Jake. I'm not leaving." Her voice tethered him. Her presence steadied him. The fire in his veins calmed. He rose, slowly, controlled. He lifted his hand again, not with rage, not with fear, but with focus. A thin, precise beam of golden flame streamed from his palm, weaving delicately between the remaining orbs. One by one, he extinguished them with pinpoint accuracy. When the last flame faded, the chamber lit up with warm light. The dragon's voice echoed. "Power without restraint is destruction. Power with discipline becomes creation. You learn quickly, bearer of the mark. Proceed." Kira exhaled in relief. "You did it." Jake managed a weak smile. "We did it." The path descended again, deeper into heat and shadow. The third trial. The air grew thick, molten, humming with unbearable tension. The third chamber was vast and empty except for a single raised platform surrounded by swirling embers. Jake's skin prickled. Kira's voice wavered. "Something's wrong. I can feel something waiting." A shadow rose from the platform. A humanoid shape, tall, powerful, and marked with a glowing dragon symbol that burned pure crimson. Jake froze. Another dragon bonded. Or rather, what was left of one. Its eyes glowed with feral madness. Fire leaked from cracks in its skin. Its chest was scorched and blackened, as if burned from the inside out. The chamber trembled as its voice boomed. Third trial. The trial of the burned. Jake's stomach twisted. This is a person. The fire dragon's voice echoed from the flames. A warrior who failed to control the fire. Consumed by its hunger. You must face what you may become. The burned warrior stepped forward, each movement heavy with power barely contained. Kira trembled. Jake, he can kill us. Jake stepped in front of her, fists tightening. Not while I'm standing. As the burned dragon bonded lunged, the chamber erupted in fire. Jake's third trial had begun. The chamber's quiet hum felt almost alive as the last of the holographic patterns faded from around Jake. The Varathian glyphs dissolved into dust-like sparks, drifting upward until the room returned to its natural dim blue glow. Jake let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Eryth, the young alien child he had rescued from the pit days ago, stepped closer. Large amber eyes bright with a mix of fear and awe. You heard the echoes, Eryth whispered. Among the Varith, echoes meant ancestral memories, visions left behind by those who had shaped the ancient world. Jake rubbed at the still-burning dragon mark curling along his forearm. Yeah, he said quietly. I heard something, and I think something heard me back. Administrator Talon knelt near the central dais, inspecting the glowing geometric designs carved into the stone. These ruins were dormant for centuries, he murmured. Only direct contact with a chosen one could awaken them. The mark proves it. Jake frowned. Chosen for what? Because that voice, whatever it was, it didn't feel like an invitation. More like a warning. Before Talon could answer, a low tremor rolled through the chamber floor. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. The walls shuddered, humming like a giant drum being struck from far below. Eryth's expression tightened. It's happening again. The seismic instability? Jake asked. Talon shook his head sharply. No, something else. The tremor intensified. A deep metallic groan echoed through the corridors outside. Lights flickered. Then, with a sudden jolt, a hidden panel in the wall snapped open, revealing a narrow passage descending into darkness. Cold air wafted out, air that didn't belong underground. It smelled ancient, metallic, and alive. Jake's mark flared, pulsing in rhythm with something deep inside the revealed tunnel. Eryth flinched. It's calling to you, the child said. Just like before. Jake reached instinctively for his wrist. The heat radiating from the dragon mark was stronger than ever, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. Talon straightened, his expression grim. We sealed this path centuries ago. It leads to the core vault. No one has ever entered it. The Varith believed only a marked guardian could. Jake swallowed. Guardian of what? Talon stared into the darkness, voice barely above a whisper. Of the creature your ancestors named the Sky Serpent, and my people called the first dragon. Jake froze. The walls trembled again, and the darkness below seemed to breathe. The air pouring from the newly opened passage wasn't just cold. It pulsed, like a slow exhale from something massive hidden in the depths. Jake stepped back instinctively, but the dragon mark on his arm reacted the opposite way. It brightened, glowing in jagged red lines that crawled toward his wrist. Eryth clung to Jake's sleeve. The vault shouldn't wake unless something threatens the planet, the child whispered. Or someone. Jake swallowed hard. Well, I didn't threaten anything. Talon gave him a grim look. The mark doesn't lie. Whether you wanted this or not, the vault has accepted you. Another tremor rolled through the chamber, sharper this time. The lights flickered, then snapped back. Jake steadied himself, glancing again into the narrow tunnel yawning open before them. Okay, he said, forcing steady breath. Let's assume I go down there. What exactly am I walking into? Talon hesitated, long enough to make Jake's stomach tighten. The first dragon, Talon said finally, was not a beast. It was an ancient guardian, a biomechanical entity created by the precursors who vanished before either of our species existed. Kept balance. It prevented planetary collapse during the early eras of Eryth. Jake blinked. Biomechanical? As in living and built? Yes, Talon replied. Part machine, part organism, and capable of destroying entire continents if awakened improperly. Jake stared. Great, so no pressure. Eryth tugged on his arm. But it won't hurt you. You carry its sigil. It marked you because you saved me, because you chose compassion instead of fear. That matters to it. Jake looked down at the glowing red mark, remembering the moment he leapt into the pit to save the child. No hesitation, no calculation. Just instinct. I don't suppose it speaks English, Jake muttered. As if answering, the red light on his arm flared bright. Then a thunderous crack echoed through the chamber. A distant roar of shifting stone rolled up the tunnel, like a mountain waking from sleep. Talon stiffened. The vault is unlocking. Jake's pulse quickened. Already? Yes, Talon said. It senses your presence. If you don't go now, it may force the opening. And if that happens, the shockwave could rupture Eryth 7's crust. Eryth stepped in front of Jake, small but unshakably brave. You won't be alone. I'll guide you. My ancestors tended the vault long before it fell dormant. Jake knelt so he was eye level with the child. This could be dangerous. Eryth's eyes glimmered. I know, but you saved me from the pit. Now I save you from the vault. Jake let out a shaky laugh. All right then, he said, rising. We go together. He turned to Talon. Alert the colony. Evacuate anyone near the fault lines. If something goes wrong, Talon placed a hand over his heart. If something goes wrong, Captain, you are our best hope of preventing disaster. May the precursors guide you. Jake squeezed Eryth's hand, then stepped toward the dark passage. The tunnel walls rippled faintly with alien circuitry, lighting up in the same red glow as his mark. The vault was calling him, and something inside was waking. Together, Jake and Eryth descended into the depths, toward the first dragon.